Hello my friends and welcome. For some, this morning is not really good. Russia launched one of the most massive aerial attacks on Ukraine. They used drones, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles. They launched lots of the stuff from their strategic aviation. Yeah, we have those kind of the maps presented to us by analytics. As you may see, Russia hit northern regions, also Kiev and western side of Ukraine, plus the region of Pavlograd, the oblast of Dnipropetrovsk. About the damages, well, Russia hit mostly civilian infrastructure, even residential buildings, and as usual they want to touch energy and industrial facilities of Ukraine. However, for now, no blackouts were reported. Since this attack is kind of fresh, I cannot name lots of the facilities which were aimed by Russians, but I may show you some of the images. This is the residential building and part of it, as you may see, is gone. Also in the Kiev region, a Russian missile hit a village, just a random village with private households, and almost all of the street there is gone. For now, it's been reported about 8 people who were unalived because of this Russian attack. Many more were delivered to the hospitals. But obviously, the number will rise. So unfortunately, guys, the information which I obtained a couple of days ago was correct. Russia definitely delivered some of the cruise missiles to their military airfields, and they used those on 25th of May. Putin really shows that he is not willing to stop this war. He continued to strike all of the infrastructure of Ukraine. Remember how 2 months ago Putin called Trump and Trump called Putin, and how they agreed on that kind of the infrastructural ceasefire, Black Sea ceasefire. But at the same time, Russia launches their cruise missiles calibers from the Black Sea, and also, yeah, from strategic aviation. Well, Ukraine tries to respond with long-range strikes, but Ukraine is kind of limited with its tools. Well, Ukraine has just long-range drones compared to cruise missiles or ballistic missiles, which Russia uses. This is not that significant. Nevertheless, Ukraine was successful in hitting many of the facilities on the territory of the Russian Federation. No civilian infrastructure, from what I understood, was hit the last night. This picture of the Russian air defense in operation comes from the Tver airport. This is the military facility, by the way. Yeah, locals filmed some of the video here. If we compare this video with Google Maps, you'll find out very quickly that it's the territory of the Russian airfield, which was filmed from the camera located over here. That's why, guys, it's better not to publish all of that stuff in internet, I mean from Ukrainian side, because it's kind of easy to identify the location, and later on in the next strikes coming in a few hours, maybe to correct the precision of missiles. Or drones, for example, because with those kind of the videos you understand the position of the air defense systems. In Ukraine, it is criminalized even if you publish those kind of the images with air defense in operation. There was the information published that Russia shut down the commercial private jet. Well, I don't have the real evidence to confirm that information for now. You know how those rumors spread around internet. Someone reported about the airplane being shut down. The next report told about Tupolev 160 that was hit by the Russian air defense. The next influencer added one more plane to that stuff. So no, I'll wait for confirmation. Yeah, here we definitely see how Russians were trying to hit the airplane. I guess it's Tupolev 134. Could be a commercial airplane or business jet, or it could belong to the Russian Defense Ministry. Kind of interesting after all. Even in port of Odessa there were explosions reported today. Well, Russia definitely launched the massive attack, but what's the real goal of those strikes? Maybe it's just the pressure on Ukrainian society, nothing more, nothing less. Russia wasn't able to cut off Ukraine, to black out it completely. That's why every night they launch drones on Ukraine, and once or twice a month they launch the big aerial strike using aviation. For Ukraine, well, it just needs to defend itself and to respond if possible. Because Russians also need to feel that the special military operation is ongoing. And it's absolutely not following the Putin's plan. I don't know if I said it. Hello my friends and welcome. My name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Let's go. Yeah, sorry for my look, I just woke up, had a very bad sleep, but anyways guys, it's my duty to record video every day. It's kind of interesting that just before attack has started, many of the VIP airplanes of the Russian Defense Ministry left Moscow. There were around 10 of the airplanes. Those airplanes were leaving Moscow airfields and were heading towards east. I may say Ilyushin and Tupolev airplanes mainly used by the Russian military command, so those are like VIP, definitely. Well, maybe Russian military command decided to test their possible evacuation from Moscow, or they're afraid of Ukrainian response. Other than that, I don't have the clue why they were leaving Moscow so fast and so massively. The United States intelligence, with its latest report, confirmed that Putin is determined to win or ultimate victory in Ukraine. They mentioned that rhetorics and goals of Putin, Russian elite, haven't been changed since the beginning of so-called special military operation in Ukraine, and that Russia really concentrates its military efforts in Ukraine, not just on front lines, but also, as you may see, hitting infrastructure of Ukraine. Also, they want to destabilize the society. It also was mentioned in this report. Yeah, Ukrainian society, obviously, because Russia is not achieving for now its military goal. So the best idea for them is to crack Ukraine from inside. Alright, now let's go to the good news. Exchanges of the prisoners of war continue. There was the massive exchange happened yesterday, and totally 697 people were exchanged for the last couple of days. I hope that the new one is coming very soon, and finally agreement 1000 by 1000 will be reached. My friends, if you want to support the job that I do here almost daily on YouTube, you may join my Patreon. I'll put the link for my Patreon page right in the video description below. And again, many thanks for my Patreon supporters and members of the channel. Guys, you just keep me running. As I say to you, almost every day. It's my obligation, my duty for you, but it's also my job, and you keep me going and going. So thank you so much for it. You're awesome. Alright, good news here. It seems like Europe has a backup plan for Ukraine in case United States of America abandons Ukrainian military support. While European officials are discussing scenario to purchase military equipment from the United States of America for Ukraine. Well, mostly we are speaking about maintaining the current weaponry in Ukraine, spare parts, ammunition. It is crucial for Ukraine to obtain missiles for Patriots after all because of the Russian strikes. Well, this initiative is good, but I hope America will not abandon Ukraine. I just hope. Otherwise, Russia would gain many more territories. They already have the advantage over Ukraine, so the situation could deteriorate even this year. Because even American generals are telling that Russia has the resources even now to continue the war for at least 2 years. It was mentioned by General Christopher Cavalli. And yeah, potentially Russian resources are not unlimited, I would say, but they definitely may continue war for a very, very long time. Well, it depends on what potential risks Putin would like to carry in parallel with the war, like to announce a new mobilization, which is not popular in Russia at all, or to put economy fully on the war rails. It is now partially on war rails in Russia. Well, that could create a huge economic crisis after all, even in the middle term. Now we see that Putin would like to balance, but that community is angry about it. So Russian patriots, they're angry because Russia is moving very slowly with severe losses. They would like to have like millions of the soldiers already out there in the Russian army deployed in Ukraine to use tactical nukes and so on. For that, I guess Putin is not ready and will not be ready. Oh, we have the report from Orlovskaya Oblast, Russian Federation. The chemical factory Azot was attacked, or maybe there was the internal kaboom. So far, we don't have the evidence of the drone strike, but we have the confirmation and the video showing that definitely something went wrong out there. This factory is producing the number of the chemicals, and some of those are used in producing Russian explosives. That's why I would say if it was really a drone strike, it is a legit target, but mostly this facility was producing methanol. Alright, Russia is looking for multiple of the solutions to get more people into the army because they don't have enough volunteers to compensate their losses. There was the big Russian legal forum on which Bastrykin, who is ahead of the Russian investigative committee and also kind of the close person to Putin because they know each other for a very, very long time, he stated that those people who went to Russia and obtained the Russian citizenship should go and fight on the front lines, so basically join the Russian army, otherwise they will be just deported. or contained in detention centers and prison camps, which totally contradicts the Russian constitution, according to which if you have the Russian citizenship despite how you obtain it, you have absolutely the same rights as those Russians who were born in Russia and original Russians. There are many people from the ex-Soviet countries who were coming and who are coming to Russia to get kind of the good salary compared to the salaries they have in their homeland. And definitely still in Moscow and St. Petersburg they pay quite well for any sort of the jobs. That's why there is the wave of people still coming to Russia. Less than before, but still coming. And many of those people, well, they apply for the Russian citizenship and then they have their passport, they should go to military branch. Well, some of those people, they served already in their armies, but Russia doesn't count that, and they send those to fight on the front lines. Or if those new Russians reject this fantastic proposal, I already told you what happens to them. Bastrikin mentioned that they were able to detain 80,000 people. It's the great number. It's like those ICE raids in America right now, so the same raids Russia has. But the intention of Russia is not to deport those people. Well, they want to deport those to Ukraine to fight for them. Let's say it in this way, one-way ticket deportation. So from all of those 80,000 detainees, 20,000 agreed to sign the contract with the Russian army. It is crazy, guys, because definitely there is a low chance for them to come back from their suicide missions, mid-wave attacks and so on. And knowing Russian commanders, you know, they have kind of the bad attitude towards those people who are new Russians, let's say. As you know, Russia is sending lots of the fuel and other supplies using the railroads. Well, just yesterday, Ukrainian military intelligence launched the drone strike on the Russian fuel train. And let's see the outcome. So here is the FPV drone probably, and it caused significant fire out there. The train was hit and fire started to spread out along the carriages. Guys, it's the first time I see this kind of the image. This information was also confirmed by the Russian side, because some of the Russian bots and delusional people are saying that, oh, Dennis, you're reviewing video games. No, guys, it's the real case that happened to the Russian train in Zaporizhia. And yeah, this video I took from Ukrainian military intelligence. I just wonder how they were able to reach this train very far away from Ukrainian controlled territory. Again, using drone boats? Or maybe it was the concept with the mother drone which flies far away from Ukrainian positions. It retranslates the signal and also releases FPV drones to operate. Well, anyways, this operation was successful for Ukraine. Alright, and now let's go for the military map review. Advantage again goes for the Russian side for the last 24 hours. We're now reviewing the eastern side of Ukraine. Pokrovsk is over here. Let's zoom in to Bahatyr. The fight for the village isn't going, even though Russians reported that they've occupied the village fully, as they said liberated, but no, it is still under Ukrainian control, but mainly it's in a gray zone. But where Russians were successful is they've took all of those fields. We have the confirmation that they moved from Rozdolne to Otradne, installing multiple of the flags. Yeah, some of those flags were actually delivered by the Russian soldiers. They waved those near the destroyed buildings. That's what the Russian peace or Russian world means. So Ukraine had to withdraw from those positions, and the next target for Russia, as you can see, is Kamar village. They use lots of the aviation bombs, artillery and drones out there already, causing losses for Ukraine far behind the front lines. We have the confirmation over here that some Ukrainian tank was hit, and this is Landsat drone. So again, if we return to the tactics of the Russian army, which I explained to you yesterday, you may see that they're at the second stage of their offensive. They try to use long-range drones. The Deep State military map source also confirms the Russian advancement in Otradne. Moreover, Russians already have crossed this road, and now there is the threat for Bahatyr from two of the sides at least. Well, the biggest disadvantage of this area that if Russia takes Bahatyr and Otradne, they may go further because there are no villages which could be used as defense spots. And the biggest one is Kamar settlement. Well, we also have the advantage in this area for Ukrainian defense, basically natural obstacle, this river, which potentially might block the further Russian assaults. So even if Russians take all of that stuff under control, Ukraine may blow up the bridges, and Russians, I wouldn't say that that they would be trapped there, but this river here, it's quite wide for them to cross without engineering equipment, and engineering equipment of Russians would be under the constant strikes of Ukrainian FPV drones. So in this area, I would say that Russians are more or less successful, but Ukraine has successful counterattack in Vilne Pole. Also putting some flags out there. Let's check it out just partially. Yeah, we can see it over here. Check confirmed. And here the losses are going for the Russian side already. Yeah, some of the vehicle was kaputted here. I will not open it fully, but again for the territorial gains, Russia gets more ground after all. But at the same time, they have significant losses. For example, it happened here to the Russian tank, which went across the minefield and was kaputted. It was the Russian T-72 tank that was kaputted absolutely. Which means that from Ukrainian side, we also see the strikes which are coming really far away from the front lines. The main idea here for Ukraine is to hit Russian logistics and Russian military units on the way to reach Ukrainian positions, not just on them. And yet, despite all of their losses, Russians managed to get to Bogdanivka village and they put their flag there. It's like the new Russian fetish, they put flags elsewhere. Later on, local commanders send those images to the higher command, and that's how they get their medals for liberating one more settlement. But it doesn't necessarily mean that this one will stay under Russian control. You can see just the rubble, destroyed building with the Russian flag and a single Russian soldier who went there just with this mission. Actually, it's a gray zone, which might go to Ukrainian side very, very soon. And the destiny of those Russian flag soldiers, well, usually they're being kaputted by FPV drones. Alright, we have the situational update in the Sumy region. Russians moved ahead a little more towards Lochne and Bilovody. Moreover, it was confirmed that Russia created kind of the robust bridgeheads on Ukrainian territory very close to their border. We're speaking about at least those 4 villages which were definitely occupied by Russians. So they sent more and more supplies. For Russia, it was not, I would say, an easy task, but they gathered lots of the groups of their forces in the Kursk region, and after Ukraine went back to its controlled territory, Russians just proceeded across their border, and now they keep this kind of the buffer area, which is for now not that significant, but potentially Russia has plans to intervene more. And also, according to the latest data, Russia is collecting 50,000 troops in Belgorod region in attempt to reinforce their strikes from Vovchansk and also towards Kharkiv. Their goal is to occupy this huge city. It could be the biggest victory for Russia even in this war, but they need roughly 500,000 people to do it, because this city is very big. And one thing is to fight in the fields, the other one in urban environment. Russians tried to occupy Kharkiv at the very beginning, but failed with it completely. So I do not expect anything good for Russians over here. And yeah, according to the most recent information, definitely Russians started their offensive towards Vovchansk. They took some of the ground. They were successful in 1, 2, 3 of the directions. So it means that definitely those rumors were correct. I'll still wonder about 50,000 soldiers, but there was artillery firing and Russians now attack with the infantry. Well guys, those basically were the main changes for the last 24 hours if we speak about the front lines. Some of the news agencies are reporting about the possible huge Russian offensive which could happen the next months. We see that Putin is definitely reinforcing the efforts to attack Ukraine. But I would say that those could be the last reserves of the Russian army without announcing a new massive mobilization, which is absolutely needed for Russia if they want to keep their meat-grinder tactics. Well, we'll see after all, because Putin is kind of scared to announce that mobilization once again. Right guys, in this video I've decided not to speak about American politics. Let's take some rest from it. Tomorrow hopefully we're gonna receive more positive news. And for now, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.